the numbers of cases, well, let's just have a look at it, 1,220 more of them today. So this is the third straight day in a row where we've seen a dropping in the number of cases on the day before. If I show you the 7-day average, it actually is, well, a couple of days where it looks almost flat. Is that a sign that this is a bending in the curve? I don't think we can say that just yet. A couple of days does not make a trend, but it's certainly something that we are happy to see. When will we see this peak? Well, the modelling from the government suggests that it could well be imminent, maybe in a week or so. There's obviously a bit of uncertainty around all mathematical modelling around this pandemic, but it could well be. It is entirely possible that we're starting to see a slowing in the curve, which will eventually turn into a bending in the curve. So let's see what happens over the next few days, and hopefully we are through the worst of it within a week or two. But again, a couple of days doesn't make a trend. Let's just give it a couple more days before we kind of start to draw many more conclusions. The sad thing is 8 more deaths today, and these numbers of deaths are going to continue for some number of weeks because of the high case numbers that we've seen and because of the high numbers of people in hospital. Now, well, it's actually higher than that since then. It's gone up again today to more than 1,100 people in hospital. 1,150 or so people in hospital at the moment, and again we expect that to go up. The modelling that the New South Wales government presented yesterday suggested this number might get as high as 3,500 or even higher come late October, early November. But the first, I think, test of that modelling will be when do we see this peak, and if it's more than a week from now, well, the hospitalisation numbers and the numbers of deaths are likely to be worse than projected. If it's sooner, then we might come out of the other side of this with a slightly less bad-looking hospitalisation curve. It all really depends on when that curve does bend. And the other one thing I'll mention quickly, Jemmy, is we do need to watch for the dynamics of this outbreak in both the LGAs of concern and everywhere else. One of the reasons we're seeing some flattening is because there's been some flattening in the LGAs of concern, which is great. They're most of the cases. We're still seeing a slow but steady increase in the other LGAs. So that's one thing we'll be watching. Once the curve bends, are we sure it's bent everywhere in Sydney and everywhere in New South Wales, or is it contained to obviously the place with the highest burden of disease at the moment, which we want to see, but are we going to see, you know, that replicated everywhere?
And Casey, what's the situation in Victoria and the ACT?
Yep, so Victoria is continuing its trudge upwards, unfortunately. 246 more cases today, precisely the same number as yesterday, except a bigger share of them are unlinked as of the press conference this morning, or as of 9 o'clock this morning. And so we're just, you know, seeing this pattern continue to spread. It's spreading through working class areas, through large households and through essential work, and it's really dominated in just a couple of areas. This is Melbourne's cases in the most affected LGAs. This is the city of Hume, 50 cases a day at the moment, just far and above, you know, kind of more than twice what we're seeing in the next highest LGA of Moreland, Wyndham, Hobson's Bay, Whittlesea and the like. And a lot of these LGA names, they're pretty familiar to us because they're the LGAs that were hit quite bad last year in the second wave, and we're seeing the same thing happen again here. So really we hope to see some turning around in Hume in particular, because that is quite the steep curve. That is the epicentre of this outbreak right now. In the ACT, I should say as well, you asked about, let's have a look there, 19 more cases in the ACT. Today. This thing has just been really flat. The trend line has been really, really flat for a really long time. 19 cases up today. The number of cases that were out in the community while infectious, it's about the same as yesterday. So kind of on balance, it's another day, a bit like yesterday, a bit like the day before. We do really kind of want to see, if this is going to come under control, you want to see this curve start to come down to zero, because the longer it just hangs around, lingers in the community, the longer we have 5, 10, 15 cases out while infectious with exposure in the community, well, the more likely it is that this outbreak goes the way of Victoria and New South Wales. We obviously don't want to see that happen. The ACT, you know, it still has some chance of bringing it down to zero, but, you know, the longer it goes, the harder it gets.
Yeah, indeed. Casey, thank you.